Welcome to this presentation on Telstar, a project at the Open University. Now, if when I say Open University, you think of black and white TV, men with large beards and poor taste in ties, and if when I say Telstar, you think of the single released by the Tornadoes in 1962, then I guess I better bring you up to date. In 2009, the Open University is delivering materials in print, on TV and online, and Telstar is a JISC-funded project about integrating references into the Moodle VLE and student e-portfolios. Correct use of citations and references is about entering into an intellectual conversation, demonstrating your connection to a community and giving credit to those on whose work you are building, or indeed demolishing. However, a 2001 report commissioned by JISC suggested that a lack of understanding of how to cite material was one of the most common causes of minor plagiarism, and recently an Open University tutor described current practices in referencing a citation as full of obscure rules, arcane vocabulary, and being a closed club, remote from the experience and concerns of everyday folk. Although often the information we need to communicate in a reference is relatively simple, there are a huge number of variations depending on the type of material you are referencing and the style of reference you wish to use. If we take this book, for example, the basic information needed to reference it is author, title, publisher, place of publication, and date of publication. However, the reference could look like this, or this, depending on whether you use the Chicago, Vancouver, or Oxford referencing style. Within the context of Open University courses, traditionally references have appeared in three general areas. Firstly, there have been the references that are integrated into course materials, either as pointers towards required readings, or simply to acknowledge materials used when writing the course materials. It's worth remembering that OU materials have traditionally been distributed as books or in similar printed formats. These are recognisably references, that is, they are human readable and written by hand to follow an agreed Open University referencing style. Because they are integrated into the course material, the references appear in context. However, they're what I think of as dead references. These are just pieces of text with some styling applied. The only way to change the display is to do it by hand, and the only way to reuse the reference is to copy and paste it. These references are only updated if a course is reviewed and republished, which is a time-consuming process. When you are referencing a resource available online, it makes sense not only to provide the reference, but also provide a link to the online resource. While sometimes straightforward, online resources regularly move and access arrangements may change over time, leading to links that no longer work. Secondly, the library has provided lists of useful resources in parallel to the courses. These are more flexible in some ways than the integrated references. They're usually stored in systems which record a structured version of the reference, which may allow you to export and reuse it. They can be quickly updated, and the library runs regular checks to make sure that any links provided are still valid. However, they are not integrated into the course content and are generally not displayed in a reference style. Thirdly, students have used their own personal references in assessed pieces of work. These can be stored anywhere and in any format. They could be on post-it notes, index cards, Word documents, all of these or none of them. In a pre-web unconnected world, it was accepted there were few or no links between these three different contexts. As we've moved into a technologically enhanced learning environment, there's been some convergence of these contexts, but this has not kept up with the connected environment we now all work in. The integrated references now regularly have managed links provided by the library, which allows us to ensure they remain persistent over time. However, this means that to reference even a simple website, you have to ask the library for a special link, and the library has to record this link and manage it over time. The references themselves are still dead in terms of our ability to reuse or reformat. The parallel references are more closely integrated into the course material by appearing in the course resource area in the VLE, but they still do not display in a styled format. The university now provides the RefWorks referencing software to students for all their personal references. This web-based software allows students to enter details of their references in a structured way and output in a variety of different referencing styles, but only a small minority of students use this. The convergence that has occurred seems to have had a cost in terms of added complexity and duplication. The workflow for courses at the Open University is like a publication process. It involves a wide variety of staff, from the core course team who plan the course and write the material, to librarians and editorial staff. Focusing on the way that references are dealt with, a simplified workflow might be something like this. The author writes the course material, including references as they go along. Typically, these references will be cut and pasted from existing material or entered by hand. This material is then passed to the course team assistant, who will go through the material, find all the references, and try to identify where the resources can be obtained. In some cases, like for specific book chapters, the university will obtain rights to digitise the material and deliver it directly within the VLE. For other types of material, online reports, journal articles, or in this example, a website, they will pass the reference to a librarian. What the librarian does depends on what type of reference it is. For online databases, they will provide a link taken from an A to Z list. For e-books, the link comes from the library catalogue. For e-journals, the link comes from another A to Z list. And for online articles, it can vary depending on the subscription details. For free websites, the librarian records the link details in another system and provides a special managed link in place of the original URL. And of course, it's always possible that the resource simply isn't available online. Once a link has been identified, it's passed back to the course team assistant. At this point, the draft may go back to the author for further amendments, which could result in more or different references being included, and the process would start again. Once all the references have been agreed, the material is passed to editorial staff, who will check that references are accurate, styled correctly, and that any links work. The course is then ready to be published in a variety of formats, including to the VLE. Within the VLE, the librarian may add more references to the course resources area. This can include duplicates of those already integrated into the course material, as well as additional references. Students can log into the VLE, view the references, and follow links to resources. However, if a student wishes to take a copy of a reference to their personal environment, they still have to do this by hand. When there's a special Open University link in the reference, this won't make much sense if the student takes it outside the Open University context. This complexity is not only inefficient for the institution, but means that it is still difficult for students to enter that conversation or join that community, especially early in their academic career, before they've become a member of the club. With the Telstar project, the Open University is working with RefWorks to try and simplify this process and eliminate or integrate legacy systems that are currently used. The requirements are that we should eliminate duplicate creation and storage of references, display references in the OU style allowing within course materials while allowing them to be easily reformatted on demand, and provide links from references to online resources while ensuring that those links are persistent over time. We're also planning to facilitate students in creating conversations around the materials they have read by using references appropriately in their own work and sharing references within their community. The key to achieving these goals is capturing the references in a structured way early in the authoring process. For example, if we go back to this book, a structured description might look something like this. Once we've stored this structured description, we can do several things. We can integrate references into course materials using the Open University's authoring tool, a plugin for Microsoft Word. Using functions built into RefWorks, we can display those references in the OU style, but also reformat to the Chicago, Oxford, or any other style using exactly the same information behind the scenes. To avoid the need to handcraft those managed links the library currently provides, we are using a standard called OpenURL, which allows us to pass the information about the reference to a library system. This is able to understand the reference information, work out the most appropriate link to use, and provide that to the student. This avoids the need for the author or course assistant to know a special link for the resource, and means that any links included in the reference will continue to make sense even if the student uses them outside the OU context. We can add the ability for students to export references to their e-portfolio, their personal RefWorks account, and whatever other personal environments they use. We're also planning to implement a simplified interface for RefWorks integrated into the VLE. This will deliver the key functionality to students, such as the ability to star references for inclusion in essays, while hiding some of the complexity of the full RefWorks package. In this way, we'll make it easier for students to join the conversation and the community without having to join the club. In closing, I'd like to invite you to join our conversation about the issues we're uncovering as we work on the project at our blog. and I'd like to thank all of those who've created or contributed materials that I've used in this presentation. Thank you.